Welcome back, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. So if you're just tuning in to Unzipped, I'm super excited about this. I have Ilan here and I'm not even going to do the intro right now because I'm really excited about just having you on the show specifically. We've been connected for 2 years now, definitely.
At least, yeah.
And I've been sending him guest suggestions for his show. And we've never really had the opportunity to connect and interview each other. I mean, it's like we've been trying to line it up for such a long time. And we decided you were going to have me on your show last year. And we kind of decided that it just didn't make sense for me where I was at and with your audience, you know what I mean? And so I'm so excited to finally have you on a platform and actually introduce you to people. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us about your show.
So the show, this is iteration 2. I think we met during iteration 1. And I started a podcast mostly for selfish reasons. At the time we were doing online marketing and kind of everyone knew us as these genius online marketers who were really good at Facebook. And then they would get into our ethos and be like, wow, you guys are really good at personal development. And so I kind of got bored with everyone wanting to just always learn about internet marketing from us. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to create this medium. So that was about, I think probably 5 years ago. And then when we rebranded about 2 years ago and stopped doing the whole online marketing thing and just focused on the personal development stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that. It was in the very beginning. I remember that.
Yeah. And then we switched to this moniker because I remember you were even sending me people. I was like, we actually stopped doing all the online marketing stuff. Now the podcast is solely focused on personal transformation, development. We are deep into spirituality. We talk about plant medicine. We talk about healing through feeling. We're kind of taking people on the journey that we're on of self-discovery. So, it's been amazing. I actually just spoke to a woman today who's been listening to the podcast since March, and she was telling me since March, she's healed relationships, lost 25 pounds, quit her job, found a new job, starting a business. I was like, damn, girl, you're on fire. So
right.
That's kind of what we're looking to create in the world.
I love that. That's amazing. So tell me about yourself before you got into before 2005, before you started the marketing podcast. What did you have going on?
So in 2004, I started down the path. I was always in sales. I was always an entrepreneur. I always wanted to do my own thing. And in 2004, I started in commercial real estate. Me and a partner of mine took $500,000 investment, grew it to about 100. When it was all done, we had about $107 million in assets under management. 2008 happened, so that was a huge hit. We survived for about another 2 years, and then I lost everything. So I had the $1 million home that went into foreclosure. I was living literally on unemployment checks. I had a son on the way. It was just from thinking I had life figured out to really just hitting the ground hard. And so at that point, I was scared. I was, if I didn't have personal development under my belt, I started down that path in 2003. I could honestly say if I didn't have all of that work under my belt, suicide would have been a really good option because I couldn't see myself out of that situation. But luckily I had a lot of experience and some really amazing people around me. And so I worked through a lot of things. I worked through issues around safety, support, finding peace when your world looks so dark and bleak. And I really just kept going back to what would I do if money wasn't a concern, even though it was very much a concern.
Yeah.
And I just loved coaching. I'd been doing it for free for ages, but I just loved it. And I was it'd be so cool to build a business around that. And so my brother and I partnered up, and in order to build a business, we were you know what, it'd be great to learn some marketing skills so we can grow this business. And so that took us down these pathways, and we did affiliate marketing, and then we created training programs that we sold digitally. Then we created masterminds. Then we had a marketing agency, and all through that time, we were coaching, but kind of in the background.
Right.
And then in 2016, we were just okay, we've done enough. We built at that point 2 7-figure businesses, and We were doing really well, and we're like, you know what? It's time to kind of pivot and do the thing that we came here to do, which was like at that point 5 years into the game. Yeah. So only in the last 2 years, 2017, we rebranded everything, and and now we just do coaching. We have programs for people anywhere from like $9 a month to over $10,000 a month, and everything in between. So whatever your flavor and whatever you're looking for, we're hoping that we can offer someone something.
I love the direction that you've taken. I've got to say, like, I the business side of things, like marketing and all that, like, you're great, you know what I mean? But I just feel like it's so much more just like authentic, the turn you guys have taken.
Yeah.
I love it. It's been
takes something. It takes something. I mean, listen, we had 2 different programs. So we had like affiliate marketing that was creating over $1 million a year. We had training programs that were creating over $1 million a year. So to sit back and go like, I'm going to give all that up in order to pursue this was scary as hell. And it came from exactly what you said. Like, I feel like Guy and I were put on this planet this time around to do this, not to train people on how to do Facebook marketing. And even though we were great at it, it just, it wasn't the thing that I like woke up in the morning. I was like, you know what I would love to do today? But like what we do today is I literally pinch myself every morning that I get to wake up.
That is so exciting. I love it. My gosh. So what was that moment that you kind of decided like, okay, I'm going to get into the podcasting industry. Like, I'm going to start a podcast. Like what made you think that was a good idea?
So my original podcast was a different twist. I was a podcast addict. So I would listen to podcasts religiously, like multiple podcasts a day. I loved them. I couldn't believe that people were giving away like that much information from the most incredible human beings on the planet for free. Right. And I could listen to it at 2x and it like just power. I mean, I was crushing podcasts. And at some point I thought, you know what, like in an hour-long podcast, there was like a lot of fluff and stuff that people had put in there. And it's like, hey, it was so good to see you the other day, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't care. Get to the goods, right? And there was always these like 2-3 golden nuggets. And I thought, what if I did summaries of podcasts that I loved? So that was the original concept. It was just, I listened to so many, I would just take notes and I would create these like 15, 20-minute short version, like cliff notes of other people's podcasts. And
you were repurposing their content, basically.
Yeah, I was just kind of like getting my spin or like what I took from this podcast and tagging their podcast and like sharing it so people can go get the long episodes and stuff.
Yeah, that's smart.
And that's how it started. And then that grew into like I did some of my own solo ones and people really resonated with those. Then I started reading a lot more books and doing, you know, kind of like my cliff notes of the books and stuff. And that's kind of how it rolled. Then we started interviewing, like the first God knows how many episodes I didn't even interview people. It kind of just evolved. It was really like selfish. I wanted to learn more and connect with really amazing people. Play. I never thought of like monetizing it or turning it into something. This one that we have now is a lot more niche specific and a lot more on brand. But the other one was just like a kind of exploration for me.
Right, for sure. I hear that a lot, that it's kind of, everyone's just figuring it out. You know what I mean? It's still such a new industry, you know, that it's really cool to see how people kind of decide to do it.
Totally.
It's awesome. So tell me about some of the relationships that have come from the show. I mean, I'm sure some incredible, you met some incredible people through it.
I was just being interviewed earlier today and I was saying like, I think podcasting is one of the coolest things from the standpoint of you can reach out to almost anyone, like literally almost anyone, and just be like, hey, I have a podcast. It's geared to these and these people. I'd love to have you on it. I've gotten to know maybe like 5 to 10 times. The rest of I've got, I don't know if you know, but Beachbody has Tony Horton, so P90X and all those. So like I was doing P90X, God knows, like years, right? Like I went through 1, 2, 3. one day I was like, you know what? It'd be cool to interview Tony Horton. Reach out, Tony Horton, got him on the podcast. I was like, and I'm literally sitting there like this, looking at him. I'm like, oh my God, it's freaking Tony Horton.
That is awesome.
It was amazing. And other authors, like of books that I've absolutely loved at every point. You know, sometimes you read a book and you're like, man, I would love to pick that person's brain.
Right.
And then you get to have them on the show. Thought leaders. I mean, you've sent us some incredible guests. It's just been so fun. And our show is very conversational and very flowy. We don't have a script. We're not like, here are the 6 questions.
Right.
So it's always very engaging and very fun. The guests have a great time. It's relaxed in a way that I think a lot of other podcasts aren't. So yeah, it's just been an absolute blast, like getting to know some of these people. Some of them have even become clients, which has been awesome. But yeah, it's been wonderful.
I love it. I remember we sent Hillary Jastrom to you guys,
Yeah.
I want to say like around a year ago. And I remember her making a post and you guys were offering each other's client stuff and you were like kind of putting your heads together a little bit in a certain way. And it was like, yes, this is why we do it. Like that's it. That's what I love to see. So
yeah, there have been times.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say there have been times where in an hour you can really connect with someone, especially when you're interviewing them like that. There have been times that afterwards the two of us will just sit there and be like, whoa, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
Like, there's this like energy and vibration. You're like, we get to keep working together. We'll figure out how, whatnot. But it's just a really cool platform to connect, like really, really network. So the guy earlier today was saying it's like the new age networking. I was like, yeah, it's pretty close.
It definitely is. The people that I've been interviewed by, we're friends. We have a relationship. We're sending each other people when we find them. You know what I mean? And your show is so diverse that you're probably just meeting all the coolest people.
It's fun. And, you know, it's like a balance because Guy and I want to create our own content and do interviews as well. So the older show, we got to the point where we were doing a lot more interviews. This one we do a lot. I mean, it's kind of like a balance, I'd say maybe at this point, 50-50, but yeah, it's really fun. I love interviewing people.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely awesome. So where has the show seeded growth, like outside of the show? Obviously client acquisition is big, but is there anything else that has like grown just because you've had the show?
I'll say so I'll take it in 2 different directions. I think from a skill perspective, just being able to interview, both being interviewed and interview, has been an awesome skill to have. It just, sometimes you say things on a podcast when someone asks you a question, you're like, God damn, that was really good. And then we've created content pieces based off of that thing that just came out of our mouths. So that's been really cool. And I think that just gives you recognition. Like, it's really odd because you don't really know who's listening to your show ever, right? Like, there's no tracking ability where it's like, you know, John Smith from blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So you don't know. So I'll walk into rooms, whether it's networking events and business rooms. Like yesterday I was at an event. My friend got engaged, so we went to like a surprise birthday party. And a guy, random, that was there was like, "You're Ilan Ferdman." And I'm like, yeah, that always scares me, by the way. Because I'm like, who's asking? You know?
Right.
He's like, "I've been listening to your podcast for almost a year. Thank you." And I was just like, these are the things that you just don't know. So yeah, it's been fun. I think just from brand awareness, our highest paying clients, like the people that spend the most money with us, have listened to the podcast for the longest. So it's, I don't think we have ever done it specifically from like a create money perspective. Like that was never the intention of the podcast.
Right. And I never got that from you either. Definitely.
It really is just like an amazing way that we could add value to people for free. And I feel like when someone builds a relationship with you because they hear you, you know, every single week, however many times people release it, after that, it's like having that next conversation whenever they're ready for that next conversation is so easy because it's like, there's no selling involved. It's like, what's your program? Here's the program. Here's the information. Go ahead. And that's it. It's like, the podcast has already done all the other stuff for you. So yeah,
Yes.
I really value our podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed the same thing just from being a guest, is that there's so much rapport built up just from them listening to you for an hour. And I actually just had a client who, she had a person found her on one podcast and then like listened to her on a bunch of other podcasts and kind of followed her around. And it was like, it's really similar.
Yeah.
So tell me about your future plans. What do you have going on? What's your
company, podcast, or just in general?
Just in general.
So interestingly enough, we were just talking about this offline before. We are constantly looking to create products that resonate with us. A lot of the products that we create are kind of on the path of our journey. And like, once we've embodied things and experienced things and have trained others in those aspects, that's when we feel comfortable to create something. And so something that I've been called to create for the last year has been a parenting product. And I've sat on the sidelines on it for a while with conversations in my head of like, who the fuck are you? Like, you don't got this parenting thing figured out, like all this stuff, right? And I think that's natural as a parent. Like, I've never met a parent like, I got this. Like, I got this on lockdown. Like, I know, like, never, right?
Never,
so,
yeah.
I had to give that up. And what I've started to realize is that, you know, a lot of the work that we do will work with a client, for example. And our work is very holistic. So someone might come to like work on business or health or finances or relationship, whatever, but the lessons that you take, you can really implement in everything. And a lot of them have been telling us that it's just completely shifted their relationship with their kids. Because relationships are all about like being able to accept, right? Like the more you accept the way that that person is or is not, the more love and connection can be present. But the only way to give that to another is to first be able to give that to yourself. Like you can't give to another what you don't have. And so all of our work is how do you give that to yourself? And in doing so, kids, because they're very energetic, receptive beings, like way more than adults, one little shift and like the child shows up differently. And so our clients, like the parents, are in awe of what's been happening. So we've kind of been taking this very different approach to this product. And I'm really excited. It's like, I feel like I've been destined to put something like this together. I've had this sticker on my thing that says spiritual father for God knows, like 2 years. And it was just something that came through one day on like a medicine journey. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do something with this. And so, yeah, that's kind of the immediate future. We're working on that product as we speak right now. So I'm really excited.
I cannot wait to learn more about your product once it's ready. That is so amazing. And it just fits. I love it. It's awesome. That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been great. Where can people find you? Where can people connect with you and learn more about you?
Yeah, totally. So obviously the podcast is Personal Development Without the Fluff. So you guys can check that out. We're highly accessible on Facebook. So if you ever wanted to reach out, ask a question, feel free to do that. Or if you want to find out just more about who we are, what we stand for, and what we offer, you can always check out satoriprime.com. That's SATORI prime.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally got to do this.
Thanks, love. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I'm going to go ahead and end this thing.